Yo, we back with another video. So today we're actually going to be talking about how to get power in Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, right? So as you know, the global launch is literally a few hours away at the time of recording this video. One thing that we're going to be receiving with the launch of the game is the beginner missions. So on JP, we had these beginner missions, and every day you would get a new set of tasks that you would complete to collect rewards, right? So on the final day, you are going to be able to receive an SSR ticket. So one of the missions is going to be achieve 27,000 power. Today we're actually going to be discussing how to achieve that easily. There's going to be a couple ways to do it, and obviously if you never actually played the JP version, then there's some things you might want to know ahead of time before actually investing a lot of your resources and time into things that might not benefit you. First off, obviously we're going to be talking about characters, because when you build up your power, it's based off of your team. Now, when you are upgrading your characters, you're obviously going to want to prioritize your SSR characters compared to your SR characters. So if I had an SSR Maki and an SR Maki both at level 1, the SSR Maki will have significant more stats compared to the SR Maki. Now, that means you want to be trying to have as many SSRs on your team as possible and leveled up, so that way you can get as much power from them as possible. But do keep in mind, just because you upgrade every single SSR doesn't mean that every single SSR is good for you. There's going to be specific ones that you're going to be actually want to upgrade, that you're going to use, and ones that you don't really kind of want to touch or invest resources into at the current moment. When it comes to characters, there's going to be one character to note that every player should have when they start the game off. That character is going to be this blue Gojo right here. This blue Gojo, when you start off with all the base roster, he's going to have more stats than all the other SSRs. All the other SSRs pale in comparison to him. So when you upgrade, you are going to be wanting to focus a lot of your materials and time into this Gojo, just because he's going to be your carry. He's going to be doing all your damage, and he's also going to give you the most amount of power just because of how much stats he has, right? So you definitely going to want to get Gojo, because you can get to about literally roughly, it's like an estimate, about 7,000 power alone just from him, right? Keep in mind, you do have 4 other characters to work with as well. So you can try to get at least close to 7,000, then you're good to go, right? You should be able to hit 27k easily, and then boom, you'll have your task done and you'll be able to get your materials, right? Now then, we've kind of done talking about the characters. Obviously prioritize SSR characters if you're trying to aim for power specifically, especially Gojo. You definitely want to invest a lot into him. Let's talk about the memories, right? Because I call them memories, but they're going to be called recollections on global. So on global, you're going to have recollections. It's going to be kind of very similar to the characters in itself, where you kind of want to upgrade the SSR memories rather than the SR memories. I'll kind of show you an example. So we'll kind of go to the SR memories, right? And the SR memories, they have a percentage that they give you to your characters, you know, whether it be HP, you know, Jujutsu damage, all that good stuff, you know, stat wise. And then when you kind of compare it to, like, you know, an SSR memory, it's going to have way more stats. So as you saw, the memory that I pulled up earlier was 2% across the board for each of the stats. Meanwhile, this one, which is an SSR memory, is going to be 3%, 5%, roughly almost 6%, and 4%. So that's going to round that all about. You can kind of figure that it's going to give you way more when you're leveling it up and increasing its level, so that way you get more stats out of it. So of course, prioritize SSRs mainly. That's kind of like what I'm trying to get at here, right? Now, when you are upgrading your memories, of course, you're going to have a limited amount of resources when you start the game. So it's recommended that you at least try to get each of your memories that you're using on your team to a level of 30 to 40, right? Because once you start getting past that limit, right? It's not really a limit, but once you start getting around that area, it's going to cost you like literally like 3 times as much more resources to actually start upgrading your recollections further past that point. So just try to spread it out and try to get all the memories that you're using on your team to at least 30 or 40. So yeah, even if the recollections are the same rarity and the same level, just keep in mind, you know, their stats and the power increases will differ, because they obviously give different stats. So like you'll have one memory that will probably give stats into one certain thing, like you see this one gives you HP, and I believe this is attack or something like that. And then you'll have a different one which will kind of give you a spread between multiple stats, right? Some recollections give you higher Jujutsu stats, and then some give you more, you know, Taijutsu stats, which is your physical characters. So you just got to keep that in mind while you're looking at your recollections. Now, one thing I do want to note, which I almost forgot about, is when you are awakening, right? So when you're awakening your characters, and what you're probably asking is, what is awakening? Awakening is essentially when you get a copy of the character that you already own and you are able to add duplicates to the character, right? So I'll use Blue Gojo as an example. So right here we'll have the dupe system, right? Obviously you'll have more power the more dupes you get with characters, so you do want to be upgrading those characters that you do have dupes with if you do plan on using them. If you do not plan on using them, then it's probably best to kind of save your resources and use them on something that can benefit you more. But I'm using Gojo as an example, and a lot of players are going to actually upgrade this character because he's still meta on the JP client side, so you're definitely going to be using him still. Upgrading him is no investment loss or anything. So as you can see right here, when we get duplicates, he's going to gain 25% to his stats. And then, of course, his modifiers for some of his skills and stuff like that are going to increase as well. So, of course, if you are trying to gain as much power as possible, when you do build a team around that power, having a character that does have dupes will give you inevitably more power overall. As you can see, look at it, gives you more percent increase, like literally 50%, 45%, 40%, 35%, and 25%. So as you know, the characters have a grade system. Every character has levels and there's a grade system. And with the grade system, they kind of uncap your characters. So for example, a character will kind of, like, starting off, let's say you just pull a fresh new character, the max level they'll be able to go to is 30. And then, of course, they'll have grade system. And within this grade system, you collect materials, which lets you uncap the character's level, right? And you'll obviously get some stats as well from each node that you fill in to get, you know, add on top of the character, right? So once you do grade 1 into grade 2, then your character's level cap will increase from 30 to 40 and then so on, right? It will kind of increase all the way up until, you know, like 9, right? I believe 9 should be the cap that you guys should have on the release of global side. So when upgrading characters, I recommend trying to go to at least grade 5 with a spread of your characters. Grade 5 will kind of not cost you a crazy amount of materials, very easily achievable. You should be able to do it with like your whole entire team, maybe in a day or two. And then obviously once you get them all rounded out at grade 5, where this will be able to let your character go to level 70, then you can just kind of like focus a lot of your materials into your carry, which will be Gojo, for example, which obviously you're going to be trying to get him to grade 9. Now that we kind of went back to the characters and all that, there's one other thing to note as well. So every time you're going to upgrade your characters and you uncap them, don't try to level, like, let's say, for example, you have 2 characters. Let's say I have a Toji and I have a Gojo, and they're both level 30. Don't try to upgrade both of these characters to 35. Just upgrade one of them to 40. The reason why I say that is because increasing your character levels do also increase your character rank XP that you gain, right? And there is a bond system in this game. And with the bond system, you essentially kind of have like these levels on these characters, like how much you bonded with them, right? And as you continuously keep doing that and you get further down the line with your bond with the character, right, you will gain extra stats. So they will gain extra stats from doing this. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in increments of 10, right? So that way you can make sure that you get as much from these little missions, so you could get more bond and shit like that. So that way you get more stats. So just wanted to point that out. So do leveling by increments of 10 rather than, you know, just leveling a character from like 30 to 35 and then another character to, you know, 30 to 35 as well. Just try to focus in by 10s. So if you already start investing in a character who's at 60 and then your other characters are at like also at 60, just invest into that one character to 70 before you move on to the next character. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of some other tips when you are actually playing the game. So when you're actually starting the game out, and obviously you're going to start off with AP and everything, and you're going to be wanting to run a bunch of things. There are going to be daily resource missions and stuff like that, like this, for example, on the right hand side. But what you're going to try to focus as much of your stamina on is actually trying to progress as much as possible in story. Do not use your AP on any of the resource quests unless you end up hitting a wall where you're stuck and you can't move. Then that's the only time that I would say you should use your AP. But realistically, only use your AP on story. Try to progress as much as possible. You want to try to get as far as possible, unlock as much events and other features in the game as possible, while also collecting resources on the way. On top of that, you're not really going to be spamming these daily event areas that much, just because a lot of the stuff that you're going to be doing with your AP is actually going to be spamming the event stories that come, which yield, you know, resources and other things that you can use to actually progress your account. So you kind of don't want to waste AP here. You rather use AP in story and then if you get stuck then in the daily missions tab, but most of the time you're going to be using just AP on story in the beginning, and then most of your AP is going to be funneled into events. Events will be usually where you get a lot of your resources and materials that you're going to need for a lot of things, right? I'd say when the global launches, you'd probably have a few days before the first event drops. Once the first event drops, you're going to be wanting to use a lot of your stamina there as well, right? To try to collect everything, because a new event also comes along with a new memory, and you want to farm out these memories because some of these free-to-play memories are actually pretty insane for what they're worth. On top of that, you can get duplicates in them, so just having duplicates in them obviously give you more stats, and like I said, having more stats on these memories and recollections, you can essentially boost your account power. Of course, like I said, you know, try to prioritize your SSR characters, try to prioritize your SSR recollections when you're kind of upgrading your team, spread your resources. So try to get all your characters up to like grade 5, and then try to level them up in increments of 10. So every time you get each character 10 levels, move to the next character 10 levels, next character 10 levels, next character 10 levels. Memories, try to get them all evened out by like 30 to 40 before actually starting to increase it, but more, just because it does cost a lot of resources. Use a lot of your AP on story, not on daily event tab or whatever you want to call it, the daily missions. And AP packs, save them for the event missions as well, and try to get that out the way. I just wanted to, you know, kind of put like a little summary of everything that I just talked about. And of course, you know, don't be discouraged if you're unable to get 27k power by the 7th day, because it is very difficult to actually achieve that power. Like, you would be using a Gojo and funneling a lot of resources into him, and you'll get 7k. And obviously, if you do the math, you still need roughly about 21k more power to actually achieve that. That's still going to be quite a bit that you're going to need. So yeah, 7k, and Gojo is one of the highest SSRs. Even a full team of SSR characters at level 60 with SSR recollections at level 30 still isn't enough for 27,000 power in total. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Just slowly do all the things that I noted and told you about. And of course, make sure you're investing in the right things that you're actually going to need. One thing that I also like to say is, of course, if you get a dupe for Gojo, that's going to make it so much easier for you, because then Gojo does have one of the highest stats on launch. So having a dupe in him, being able to get 25% to majority of his stats, is going to be very nice for you in achieving that total power. But aside that, that's basically how to get power in Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.